let's maybe just really trying to avoid, like just to sit and be present with that.
Yeah.
I guess,
Yes.
like a fear. I remember like I was running away from fear. But then I just came like, it's okay to sit with that, like strong contraction in the tummy area. It's okay. And anger was like, when that energy was coming up, that was okay as well. But this here, it just feels like, it's like, it's like consumes you. It's like drags you down, like the,
Mm.
yeah.
Mm.
And you feel like very, I don't know. Yeah, because of aloneness. It's just like need to cling to someone, just, like, yeah, that something like that.
Mm.
Whatever happened to that pure baby?
Yeah.
Little baby.
I
Mm.
really think it is something, like from, I don't know, maybe even like pre being, like in the mommy's warm, like tummy. Because like there, like when I dive into that, really, it just feels like you're floating in the water. That type of sensation. And then that cry is coming up and just like, I want mommy, I want mommy. So yeah,
Mm.
whatever that is.
Who knows? I do imagine that we don't have a sense of separation in the stomach, in the womb. But maybe there's circumstances where we do. I don't know. I mean, I'm only guessing. But after we're born, even straight away, the moment that we're left alone, I think that feeling of separation could become huge.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's interesting. My dog will follow me around. I'll walk around the
Yeah,
house and it wants to be with me all the time.
yeah,
At the very least, it wants to be able to see me. So
yes,
it'll go away, but as long as it can see me, it's okay.
yeah.
But there is that need for, well, I don't know what the need is for, is it that need for connection, that need to be
Mm-hmm.
around. It's the herd instinct in us, I think.
Yes,
And I think
yes.
people have got that too, we need to be around other people all the time. So if we're alone, we
Mm-hmm.
have to conjure up a fantasy world to live in of other things to relate to. Whereas
Mm.
with other people, we're relating to other people. We don't have to make a fantasy world about it. But it's
Yeah.
trick, isn't it? So
I,
so
yep.
I imagine that this is trauma that almost every child goes through. This fear
Yeah.
of separation, this fear of the loneliness thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
And
mean,
like when you mentioned the dog, because I had, like puppies from like 8 weeks taken, and this is exactly what happens to them when you bring them home. At like couple weeks, they really just crying and crying and crying. Like even when someone is, especially at night, when I normally left them downstairs and was sleeping upstairs, and they were just crying and crying and crying like mad. Yeah, that's like, if I look around, you can see this is, I don't know, I'm probably making up, but it's just coming up, like animals have very same. If they lose, like their babies or if they lose their mummies, that's, you can see how they feel that. And that is that sensation,
mm,
whatever that is. Yeah.
yeah, and it's pretty sad that we've had this culture, this society for so long that said, well, we've got to breed them tough because they're going to have a hard world to live in. So let him cry. Don't pick him
Hmm.
up when they're crying, that kind of stuff. Stupid, totally stupid, but
Yeah.
that's the way it's been. Yeah.
It's,
So,
I was thinking about this morning, like really just looking, just really looking what is, what isn't. And I can see like how fear of intimacy is coming from very same, because when you get so close to someone, there is a separation, moment of separation, and then this here comes. So we are avoiding to get intimate with someone to avoid to feel this here. And so like fear of intimacy and fear of separation, it's like the same thing.
Mm. Yeah, often we might fear losing something we've got. So when we get the intimacy, we fear losing it. So we fear intimacy because we know we're going to lose it eventually.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a lot more complex than that, of course. But what gets to me is, okay, so if every child, pretty much every child has been through this separation thing as a baby, you know, even if they're left for one moment, and that hits them, that they're by themselves and they start to get distressed, it's everything. That's their whole world. 100% of their emotion goes into that, trying to fix that situation. So do some people eventually learn that say somebody will turn up sooner or later to relieve that situation, right? Somebody will come along and touch me, whether it's for food or whether it's for you know, to get a cold nappy off me or whatever. I don't know, you know, but essentially maybe we reach the stage where we learn that will happen, and then we learn patience. Maybe we can learn to put off our concern that it'll never happen, because we figure that we have learned that it will eventually happen. But for some people, maybe that doesn't happen. Or for some people, maybe mum doesn't turn up soon enough, leaves them there for hours and hours and that until they go to sleep, and then it seems like forever. But I don't know. But that learning that somebody will turn up and give them some comfort, and enables them to regulate what they're feeling. And for those of us who've still got this deep down inside us, we probably never learn to regulate that.
Yeah, yeah.
So we will do a whole lot of things in this day and age to compensate for that stuff. We keep busy. We think.
Yeah.
We think. We make up stories. You know, we do. What do we do? You know, we have perhaps many failed relationships sometimes because of that kind of thing, you know. Seems to be a bit of a cultural norm in America now to have, you know, 5 wives or so over a lifetime, 5 marriages. You know, it's crazy, isn't it? But anyway, so how do we reparent our baby, the baby in us that is frightened of being left alone, when you can see that is an issue? How do you reparent? How do you give that baby what it needs to be able to finally learn that it's not a death situation, that things will happen, that it'll be okay?
Open a space and hold that space for that sensation to be fully present. Just feel it, just fully allow it to feel it without any agenda, without any trying to fix it, without any agenda for that to go away, or any kind of agenda. Just allow it, eventually allow it to come up, and just be present with that. Just hold it.
So how does the magic of just living, just sitting with that sensation, change a situation? How does that work?
You know what? It's just like you become okay. It feels like that's what actually happens. Like once you stop running away from that, and you just, you know, I just want to see you, I just want to feel you, I want to get to know you. What you are, tell me, show me yourself. Comes up, and you become okay with, you know, feeling that. You become totally okay to be present with that. It's like it's like, I don't know, you learn or you see that is okay. It doesn't do any harm to you. It might feel heavy, it might feel, intense or whatever, but sensation itself is okay. It's okay to be here.
Mm.
Like it might feel like contraction, like a squeezing like chest, and like to cry is okay, like nothing is wrong with anything that is coming up. So I think that what changes. It's not like, oh yeah, well, that is okay. Whoo, I'm back to normal again.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's just, yeah, it just, that is here. Like even now when I'm talking, I still feel that it's there and it's okay.
Mm.
Yeah. So I
So
think that,
the sensation itself turns out not to be unbearable. But the
Mhm.
fear of getting close to it is what keeps us away from it before it happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that fear is the monster under the bed. That fear is
Mhm.
so big that we dare not go near it. It's
Mhm.
absolutely incredibly powerful and controlling until we can, if we go towards a sensation and allow the stories about how bad it will be
Mhm.
that are not actually in words, they're more in something else. But if we go towards a sensation and allow those stories to drop off, it turns out the sensation is not that bad after all. And the moment
Yeah.
we get there, it changes. It actually goes away.
Mhm. It's interesting because that sensation was coming up, like I'm dying, I'm dying, I'm dying. And it's, like you just sit with that. It's just you just allow anything that comes up. Just you're dying, that's okay. Let's die into it. Just
Mm.
let's die then. No pushing away, no change and no resistance. Just like whatever is here, it's here. Mm.
It seems easy to say that, but when
Yeah,
somebody's got the fear, how do they this is David's specialty. They have to be gentle with themselves and go slowly towards that fear. I'm looking at
yeah,
another David, isn't it? He's shaved his beard. He's had a totally got a new face. Even had a haircut. Yeah.
Yes.
So how do
yeah.
we
Like
approach that fear?
I can only share my experience with fear. How was, that's like strangely fear wasn't coming up. It was more like restlessness now, like you just feel that like unease, like agitation just to get away. But when fears were coming up, it was like tension in the body and just like really like squeezing you out of a body. And then I remember mine was just like anything, just not this. Just you rather dies than just feels this. But I remember what Pernilla said. Are you okay to be in the body that feels like this at the moment? And you just sit there, yeah. And you just sit with that. And you like, I remember it took me like 3 or 4 hours. That contraction just was so strong. I was like, I was working and just sitting with that, just keep doing whatever I was doing, because mine wasn't like really engaged. I wasn't talking to anyone. But it took me from morning till lunchtime until that eventually released, like softened.
Mm.
And I remember I was sitting and it was even hard to bend forward because everything was just like so contracted, so tight, that tension. But yeah, like kind of once you sit with that and then you just feel like there is like some movements in the body. And I remember that association came up. It's like a frozen pipe, like frozen water in the pipe. And all that, start to move and I just like flashing out because it really just felt like something is moving. Yeah. And it's just like defrozen and just flashing out all that derbies out. So that was my approach to the fear.
Yep. So would you say that your fear changed into restlessness as you work through this? Was that?
Possibly.
Uh,
Yeah, because yesterday was just, like you really just feel like, yeah, like agitations, that unease, like restlessness, just get away, just do something. like talk to someone, connect to someone, scroll, like think about something, get engaged into something, just
Run away. Yeah.
And
So
then
what do you reckon's going on that there's still a bit there in you? You still feel a bit of that stuff. It's not completely gone.
I don't actually know. I woke up this morning and I thought, you know what? I'm not going to run away. I'm just going to feel it. So that's what I've done this morning. It's just, like, I don't know, like in here, but, and then, yeah, just make friends with that old friend.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
Because that's been here as long as I remember myself. In childhood, anytime I was, like falling in love with someone, getting in a relationship, that's very, very like first stage when you get so connected with that person and then you separate and that's like, oh, sick puppy, Yeah, so that sensation is very, very well known. It's just, I think, just a matter to allow it to be here. Because with that factor 6, that boundaries and separation, things are shifting there. Like I walked out yesterday and I put my sunglasses on and there is literally like no distance and I can see like mind really just trying to put the distance there and that just doesn't work. And then you walk around and you see trees are moving and you feel that movement, like you feel that like in yourself. Like car is driving, like bypassing like from the back and you feel like the whole body just moves with that car and just, like, and mine just goes. It's like physical distance is there, but it feels like that is so close and it's here and it's trying to make sense of it and it can't and it just gets frustrated. It really starts just like because it can't make sense of it. How it is, like you see distance, but it feels like that is here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
such a crazy thing we've got. Yeah.
Such a strange stage now at the moment. I just a drive to seek something, to practice, it's just completely gone. And it's, like, I don't know, it's like old ways gone and new nothing been replaced. And it's just like, it feels like, I don't know, like nothing, nothing to hold on. And was walking yesterday in the shop and just like it feels like you're like naked, like exposed, that type of way. And then like all people like I don't know, like that sameness kind of way, like body, another body, another body, and it's all like kind of same. It's such a weird sensation, such a weird feeling. Mine just like goes crazy. It literally goes crazy because it has no explanation, no rational explanation. What?
Yep. And the mind certainly doesn't like to not know.
Yes, yeah, and it can't explain it, and because it can't explain it, it doesn't know what to do with that.
Yeah, it's interesting. So we talk about the mind there, but years ago there was an experiment done, a psychological experiment done where they made some glasses with prism lenses that when you put them on, turned the world upside down. Right. So when you look through these glasses, the ground was up there and the sky was down there. Everything was upside down. And when you wore those glasses, after approximately 10 minutes, the world flipped back up the right way. That's what the brain did. The brain was able to do that. It worked out what was wrong and fixed it.
That's amazing.
It's maybe not just the mind that wants to know. Maybe it's the brain also. We're actually having to retrain our brain with this stuff, and we are doing that. We do that. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just like how I feel at the moment is just like don't push anything. If there is that personhood appears here, just that's what it is. If there is this like sameness comes up, it's just what it is. Whatever comes up, it's just what it is. It's just, like totally just allowing anything to be as it is without any pushing away without any wishing for anything different, because that's what it is.
Yeah, perfect. Yes. I totally grok that one. Yeah.
Mm,
And interestingly, that what it is can't be put into words.
mm-mm.
That just creates something that's a bit of a simulation. That's a very poor simulation of what it is. Yeah. So as soon as you try and explain it or describe it or think about it, you lose it. Mm. Mm.
David, you're looking in a very fancy place.
Yes, I am in Bali right now.
Oh, lovely.
I'm traveling around with my family.
Ah, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Must be hot.
Yeah, it's hot here. It's hot
Mm.
and there is mosquitoes, but it's a beautiful
Oh.
place.
So how have you been, Gitte? We haven't seen you for ages.
Well, because I've started a new job, and I've been away a lot,
Oh,
and but it's been a perfect opportunity to use all these tools and see what happened, and because I would say it's the first time in my life that I have a job where I'm an employee. I've always been working by myself, so I could just set the code on what things should be like. So I was very curious to start this experience and see what happened, making use of all these tools, and it's been really, really excellent.
oh, good.
Yeah, the best advice is what is what is what is what is.
Yes, perfect.
That's perfect, because there's been situations where I was I had to listen to the owner of this company, where he explained a lot of things, but his brain works in another way than mine. I see myself as quite slow to understand things. So when a person explains something in his way, so I don't expect to get his point, and that usually brings up a very strong feeling of being stupid in front of another person, and I could just sit there saying I feel stupid, and that's fine. And it was like everything just dissolved itself. Nothing was left in the body of being nothing left in the body to be stored. No, nothing was stored in the body, because living the moment as it was and accepting it and embracing it, it just dissolved the what
Mhm,
might have been left in the body in a previous situation.
mhm.
So it's been really great.
Yeah, yeah. So talk
And all this,
a bit more about, tell us about stuff getting stored in the body. How does that happen?
well, it happens because when I would find myself maybe with a person who makes me feel stupid, then I would come up with a story about him being in a way in a story which would explain why it was okay that he was acting in that way, or why, or maybe come up with a story that he was not a nice person, or any kind of story, not to be able to stay in the feeling that of being stupid.
Okay.
So if I would divert by coming up with a story, it would be left in the body stored,
Yes. Yeah.
and it would represent itself in another situation.
Right.
And I think I've been there for like 15 days, and I just feel I feel a light body.
Excellent.
Yeah. And like yesterday, I was coming home. I was in a 5-hour car ride, and I had like a head like this because I was very tired. And an email came in, and I could read that he had some questions about my work. And I usually get really, really anxious and afraid, and not know, I don't know what to respond, and it just goes really like a tsunami in the body. And I was there. It was a very cool sensation to read what he had written and just say, right, I'm going to answer you when I come home. So I would have the time to process what he had written. And then I would usually think that he had everything on the right side. I would not consider it my side of the question at all. But in this case, I'm able to consider myself, my reasons to do one thing or another, and not just turn everything into I'm wrong and he's right.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and
Yes.
yeah.
So you
And that was
stayed cool.
really-
You weren't overwhelmed by emotion.
No.
Mm.
And that was really, I'm so grateful for this this transformation, because it's like the body is now making you experience that what is, I can stay with that.
Mhm.
So the previous exercise has been, as Anna said, that saying a lot of times, can I stay in this body, which is completely out of its mind? Yes, I can. And then it just goes by itself from there, because it gets experience, and it's that you're not going to die. The first one, you think you're going to die, but then it's just that one time or twice, maybe you have this feeling of dying, and then it just gets into living and instead, and it just goes on like that.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really nice.
So what changed that allowed you to not get caught up in those stories about they're right and you're wrong and whatever the stories were? So something allowed you to detach from the content of those stories. What happened there?
It's definitely the knowing that the thoughts are just something that's coming up, and I definitely don't believe them.
Right. Okay.
So I can always question them.
Yes. But you used to believe them, didn't you?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So something happened. Something happened when you stopped believing them.
It's like an experience, because well, the story is that I've had some very heavy years about my economic situation, which brought me into a very anxious state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that could so my thoughts was that that was my reality, And then when I just stayed in the now and just thought about breathing, then I noticed that my anxiety just went completely,
Yes.
this just dissolved itself.
Mm.
And that's the experience that my body has now, that I don't believe in my thoughts any longer. So they do not have any power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Good.
Mm.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
Mm.
I just wish that I could explain this to my family members.
Ah,
It's really
Yeah.
really difficult to make them understand this.
it's probably impossible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's too late now.
Yeah. Yeah, we all want good for everybody, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's hard to do that one.
yeah. But
Yeah. Mm.
it's very nice now.
Yeah, sounds great. Sounds good.
Mm.
Everybody's good. Yeah. Have you
So
been? Busy?
I have this question maybe.
Yes.
And the question is, it's a belief that I've come up with, because when we talk about these things, maybe in other groups, they all think that if you want to get rid of all this like rage or these extreme feelings, then and you go into like a zen feeling in the body, then you will then you would be like numb or something like that. So my question is, I don't know if I just lost it now. Maybe I'll explain it in another way. I have the feeling that I've been avoiding to rage or being very very much in discomfort. And if this is my zen or zero, avoiding this discomfort, then I cannot even experience being very very happy or involved, or the opposite of being very in allowing discomfort. Then I would what's it, that makes, I've lost the word. If I don't want to the discomfort, I cannot have the opposite. And that's the question. If I allow now everything is what it is, then I can also allow like being happy or intimacy or with other people, or do you get the picture? I'm
Mhm.
not very good at explaining it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it like that? That you don't want a situation which is bad, but then you cannot even have the good situation, the opposite situation.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we've been talking about, Pernille, that maybe a feeling comes up in a body, and then the question is, are you sure that this is the feeling attached to not being comfortable? Could the same bodily experience be attached to the excitement of trying something new or being in a situation that seems fantastic?
Yeah, they're very close.
So that's why I came up with the, if I've always tried to avoid a lot of things, then I've also been closing doors for being to expand myself to things which would be nice to be in.
Yeah. So the way I see it is that what we do is we open ourselves up to a full range of experiences, and so that can be the height of joy and and a whole lot of things around that. But interestingly, if we open ourselves up to the full range of negative experience, so if we allow ourselves to feel those really bad things, turns out they're not so bad. That's the really weird thing, you know? So it's not like we're going to allow ourselves to be in hell, because that turns out that hell is just a bit uncomfortable. We just have to avoid stepping on the hot coals or something. But so it's like there isn't any bad. So there is uncomfortable stuff. There is unpleasant stuff, but it's transitory. It doesn't last, and it's not that bad usually. Yeah.
I see what you mean, but it's because I have difficulty to allow myself to be close with people, not even my husband or my children, and I was just thinking if the difficulty came from blocking myself of living all ranges of emotions, then that one, the good part blocked itself.
Yeah. So in the past, you could see that there's been a wanting to control things, and now this acceptance of whatever turns up is no control. It's the opposite. So that in itself can be very scary in the beginning. You know, how do you allow things to look after themselves when you've always believed that you've had to manage them? So I'm sure Anna would say the same thing about that feeling when you seem to be stopping yourself from getting close to your family, for example. That whatever that feeling is that comes up, that's the one that you need to accept. That's just what is, that feeling. And by not trying to escape from it with activity or thought, by just accepting it as what is, for a start, you become more familiar with it. And when you become more familiar, you find that it doesn't have it's not as scary. So you can allow yourself then to move even closer. But you just watch yourself. You don't have to do anything. Don't do anything. You see, the fact that it's something that you're aware of is already doing something.
Yeah, I'll try this.
What I will share again my experience, because that's the only thing I know. I had a fear to be around people who are annoyed with me, angry with me, without realizing there is actually repressed anger here within system myself. And so once I got in touch with that, and it really just came up like strongly, energetically, I'm okay now to be around my teenager boy who is expressing a lot of anger. You know, like sometimes maybe some hurt comes up, but I'm okay to sit with that, or my own anger comes up and I'm okay to express it at times when that is needed. So yeah, that has changed when I accepted, you know. And my daughter, she was coming up, and I can't remember, like she was, you know, like I think anyway, what I have realized, we are avoiding to be around other people when we are avoiding to feel what is happening within us whenever they are expressing their own stuff. Because when we are around someone, it's always something happening within ourselves. And if we are avoiding to feel what is happening within ourselves in that moment when we are in close interaction with other people, whatever is happening in them, that's what that distance is, and avoidance of intimacy and connection. because something we don't want to feel within ourselves. That's my. But more you become like friendly, or more you integrate all these sensory experiences, that emotional stuff, that's more you're okay to be around people whenever they saying or doing whatever, because they can say or do whatever, something comes up and you just feel it, some kind of reaction, or like not like acting out, but something comes up and you just sit, you're just okay with that. Yeah, so there's still defense mechanisms coming up. I see them coming up and things like that, but everything is just like, oh, you notice that, you just notice that. That's changing. But it's
I
not
can
like
see
that.
that if I maybe see courses where you have to do like dancing or being very intimate in that way, I have this dualistic thing about it really irritates me, but then I know that maybe I would like to do it or have that kind of intimacy. So I know there's something, I have an issue with intimacy.
See, like when
Definitely.
you're dancing, we say like when you're dancing, like what is coming up for you? Like, is there any
I
like
do not dance. I just don't do it. But I have this. I know there's an issue there with the body. Like I get disgusted with the body of my parents. I cannot stand just the thought of it, and I don't know where it comes from. And then
you see the discuss you mentioned? Just really good.
yeah.
That's some kind of shame, what like what came up for me, because that it just feels like you really want to puke. Blech.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
sometimes
then I see people maybe in these retreats where they go and express themselves by dancing, and I understand and there's an issue there, definitely.
you can try to like that, dancing in your own on your own in the room. Just put music on. And
I have better things to do.
you see, yeah, you're really avoiding now.
Yeah, that's escape. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've decided to do rugby and go by bike by myself and things where I don't have to. Yeah.
Yeah, look, the time will come for you when just because of your evolution, the time will come when that stuff will invite you to get over it, to look through it, right? And so there's don't push yourself to do
No,
that.
I will
because you're-
definitely start with being just curious. Yeah.
Yes, just curious.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, it might even just be how close you stand to your husband will excite a feeling in you. And you just watch that feeling. He doesn't know it, but you just move a little closer than you normally do and watch the feeling that comes up in you, and then go away and let it dissipate, and then come back and do it again and whatever over time, and just see get familiar with those things, and they become clearer what it is.
Yeah.
And the fact that what you said about your parents' bodies, that sounds very juicy to me. I'd say that there's certainly stuff in that could be looked at, but when it's ready, only when it's ready. You don't need to push anything. Yeah.
I know it's there, definitely.
That pendulum, like you dip in, get out, dip in, get out.
Yeah.
Just slowly get used to that. It's like, like dipping toe inside it, just like a wee bit in, you just like get a wee taste of it and get out of it. And then just let like nervous system to regulate back to normal again. And then you try in again and out again. That
Yeah, I don't quite know how to work out how to work with the part of my parents' body, because it's like
you're not ready to yet, I think. Just,
It's very confusing. I don't know how to start that one.
yeah, it will, when you will know when the time is right.
Hmm.
Yeah. You've got a few other things to get through before you get close to that one, I think, because that
Yeah.
sounds like that's right. That's a
It's
really
just that-
fundamental one. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so strong that I don't really, sometimes I don't even know how to relate to my own daughter, because the feelings I have towards my mom is so strong that I think I pass the same thing. I expect her to feel the same way if I do or speak to her.
Mm.
And then, which means that something, I don't know, it doesn't come natural what to say all the time,
Yeah.
because I'm so afraid so afraid. I believe that she has the same feeling towards me that I have or had towards my mom.
Yep, sure. Things do get passed down through the generation
Yeah,
by example.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to discover what's behind that feeling of disgust towards my
Yep.
mom.
How old is your daughter?
19.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you can also maybe change the story a little bit, because thought I just thought you can also change beliefs, and it can be helpful, because what you share about the polarity, that
Yeah.
you don't feel bad, so you don't feel good. What you talk about, it's about dissociation, because like in the past, it was so difficult. So you say the only solution I have is to numb myself to every sensation, everything. But by numbing yourself, of course, you numb yourself from the polarity of from the whole spectrum of
Yeah.
sensation, emotion, and everything. And now you want to get back in, but when you get back in, you face two things. First, the habit. You have the habit of not going there. So when you go there, it feels strange, whatever it is. So there is this habit to kind of get used to. And also you have all the emotions that are stuck there, that you didn't confront. So, and they are still there to be seen. So you have those two layers. I think the everything everyone says is great. You can add to this if it's not too much. Just change the story. You don't have difficulty to be with your mother, and you don't have difficulty to be with your daughter. You have the difficulty to be with your own self when they are there. So you can let them off the hook, and you can accept, I want to be near of my daughter, but I'm difficulty to be with myself. So you can, with doing this, you acknowledge at least that you want to have a relationship and a connection with your daughter, which is really great, but you have the difficulty on the side.
Yeah, that's a good way. That's a very it's
So-
good to trick your brain in that way.
Yeah, trick your brain, and you can express it. You can say, look, I want to be with you, but I have a lot of difficulty with myself right now. So you can say out loud to her, you can recognize that, and you can express it to her, and it's true. At the same time, you recognize your difficulty. So at least maybe it can break this cycle that it's not her fault and everything, but things can shift if you hold it, if you trick your brain, like you say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great advice. Thank you.
Well, it's not really a brain trick. It's accurate. It's much more accurate because it always
Yes.
is how you
Yeah.
feel about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just that close proximity to them triggers that feeling for you. Mm. Good one. I like that.
I felt a lot of disgust towards my mom as well, but I realized she had her own shame, what she projected on us, kids from childhood. She was calling us different names, but that's because she didn't want to feel her own. And so And then we were kind of like reflecting. She was, like deflecting her shame, and that was, I absorbed everything. I was deflecting back on her, and that disgust, I had like very, very strong disgust towards my mom. So yeah.
Mm.
But that was just a sensation, that puking sensation, and heat coming up into her face, and you just like
Mm.
just physical sensation, nothing more than nothing more. But it came up with a lot of hatred towards her. I was like, there was a hatred was torn towards myself because I couldn't protect myself. Then, like I felt, and then that hatred came, like I'm hating her because once, like it was like I start to hate myself because if I didn't do that, I would lose connection with her. So I'm hating myself. I am disgusted. Something is wrong with me and all that stuff. So, and then I realized, oh, that's actually how I learned to see myself. And then I start to hate her. So that hatred from here turned against her. And then I realized I couldn't hate her in childhood because I would lose connection with her. So that anger was repressed there as well. So when that anger came up, and then that disgust came up, that shame, like something wrong with you, like you're bad, like you're not enough, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're stupid, just all these things. And just, then you just release, and then mom is just clear.
Yeah. Definitely the breaking this generational thing involves forgiving, recognizing, not forgiving really, because that's doing, but recognizing that they had their own shit, and that's what they were responding to. It wasn't about us. It was never about us. It was about what they picked up and what they were responding to. And when that's recognized, it's kind of easy to forgive them, to have compassion for them, for their foibles, We don't expect them to change. They've been like it forever. And if they're still alive even, but they've been like it forever. So that's just the way it is. But we don't have to pass it on to our kids. And if we've started to pass it on to our kids, then we've got an opportunity to do something about that, maybe. I don't mean really do something, but there's an opportunity for us to change our relationship with our kids.
It's like I had the biggest issue I had with my daughter. With my two boys, I don't know, it was easier to connect, but with my daughter was harder, and we always just ended up, in conflict, and because whatever, something like she didn't want to feel something, so she was firing that on me, and I was pushing away that as well. So once I really start, to feel into my own stuff. Now when she rings me, when she calls me, when we are interacting, I'm just cuddling her, the same as I'm cuddling myself. And there is no issue anymore. Yeah. And that just has transformed where I'm not trying to fix her anymore. I'm not trying, because that was my always to go for. I need to fix her. She's feeling bad, so I need to fix her. But it's because I couldn't sit with my own discomfort. And what I realized,
we are in a very tricky place now because we use the narrative of family, birth, and father and child, to kind of point towards something, toward what we are sensing right now. But forgiveness is not an action. Forgiveness is seeing that the way you experience is happening right now. Your parents, no one is responsible of it.
I don't even know that
when you
word.
see this,
I think it just happens itself, naturally. I probably call it release. You just release them. You just release them because you release what is here. You're not holding on that suffering. You're not holding on that pain anymore. And I think that's what forgiveness is. But
I
I don't
think there's maybe 2 steps in it, maybe more, because I've learned about my mother's stories, and it's definitely helping to get further. But I think the part where feelings comes up in the bodily feelings comes up in me when I'm with her is the part I need to heal, because there's still a lot with her. I really get really annoyed with her because of things that she says or things that she triggers in me. So it must be that part where what comes up, I have to do some work, which is the same thing with my daughter. Yeah, it's the same thing.
Now, one of the things that Anna was saying that rang a bell for me is when your mother is a certain way towards you, because your basic instinct is that you want connection, and you do things, and one of the things that you do is that you take on her shame, you take on her anger, you take on her stuff, and you do it to yourself even before she does it to you after that, simply because it's an attempt to be intimate.
Mhm.
That's a good one, because I moved quite a country to get away from her. Because it was so confusing, it was too much, that I just had to get away because I couldn't figure out how this worked out.
Because I remember there was
And there's a
day-
lot of shame
Yes.
involved, really a lot. And if I go to her house, if my sister goes to her house or my daughter goes to her house, we all want to eat. Eat.
Yes, that's the great escape.
Yeah,
Comfort.
and yeah.
For one time with my family, there was a New Year Eve, right? That all my family met. That was years ago, and it was always a mess. You know, there was all of my mother and my aunt were cooking all day, and everyone was in the living room eating. Music, it was very high, and eating and drinking and other food. I mean, it was just kind of very stressful, right? And at some point, I say, look, I will do everything, and no one does anything, and I will take in charge everything, right? So we can be together, okay? But it was just impossible. I mean, my aunt, no, but we need to do this, and at the end, it was exactly like everyone wanted, like it was the same. I brought, board game, and I say we don't put music, we try just a game so we can play together and connect with the impossible. It was just everyone had this habit, I don't know. So it's true that family habit is very, very strong.
Yeah.
So there I really understand that it was okay, or I accepted dynamic and I'm just enjoy the ride, as best as I can, or I don't go, because changing it's not an option.
Mhm.
I think definitely being with what comes up when I'm with her is going to be a game changer. So I'll do that the next time.
Yeah. But you really have to see the mind. We always trick you, saying, I feel this because of her, because of this behavior, because of what she said, because of what she cooked, because of what she smelled, because of what. And this is just the mind. The mind just it works that way, and it's impossible to change it. But yeah, just be aware of it, and it's fine.
There was Scott Killaby. He had reverse inquiries. So basically, in triggering situations, something happens to you, and in my case, like anger repressor. So, like you go back and you just sit with that, and you bring up that situation, and you go and express everything you want to say to that person, and then I remember, like, I brought up that person and I went to that person, expressed everything, and then you bring up your mom and dad. and you go to your dad and express him what you want to say to him, and then you go to your mom, and I go to my mom and just like, no, I can lose her. And I didn't even realize that was sitting there. Only when you really do, like, you know, like sitting like this with all that stuff, you can see what actually is on very, very deep subconscious level. I never realized I had this fear to lose my mom if I say her what I want to say. So, yeah. And that reverse inquiry, that's like really works very, very good, because sometimes there is something comes up and you don't know what is the cause. And so I was driving in here and someone parked in my place and that strong anger came up. I was just like, okay, they took my place, and that's all what I could see. So I see, you know, like, okay, I don't need my place. I can park somewhere else. I can park away all the time. And once I say that, there is like a memory from childhood came up when I was a child and I was bullied by bigger boys. And I would never even, you know, like, could never relate them two things together, but somehow mind, you know, like did relate the situation someone parked in my place to childhood. So yeah, the reverse inquiries, you just, you know, you turn this whatever you don't like, you turn it like into a liking. Say like, they said I am bad. Say no, I am actually good. I'm okay to be bad, you know, things like this, and you really feel what is coming up in the body. Just try to twist it because it's causing reaction, and once that reaction comes, you can really feel it. That tricks works just brilliant on me. Just like means you say poking the bear. That's poking the bear. Exactly.
I've been listening to Sailor Bob this week, and I've heard him before a few years ago, but I didn't resonate then. Well, somebody put up, maybe Anna or Tom, I think, that anyway, I saw this thing about John Wheeler, and I listened to him and I love him, John Wheeler, and then that got me on Sailor Bob, and yeah, I don't know if it's just someone new, but I feel a real shift with that, with listening to him. It's kind of, this space has just opened up again. And I think generally the fear for me is more of thoughts than feelings. I don't think I've perhaps got to the feeling layer yet, but still believe in thoughts, and just listening to him and recognizing that misidentification again as what I am, and coming back to what I truly am, which is this no thing space, has been so beautiful. It's like it's never gone, but it keeps being remembered, or as he would say, recognized. And I've just been ignoring it for a while. And I think the dilemma is that I did spend a long time in that a couple of years ago, but then I realized I had to maybe just go into more of the human body work, shadow work. And so now I'm at a point where I can recognize that space again without identifying with it or disassociating into it. And so the question now is, I kind of want to hang out there, but I've done that before and then I become too disconnected. It's like how much of this that we're talking, that people have been talking about here, I'm very obsessive. So if I start going into shadow work, you know, I can want to watch every video, you know, I want to learn to be a therapist, you know, and I want to go into and the whole thing. But then I kind of lose the space, you know, it's like I'm contracting into things too much. And I don't want to, I know you can't forget it, but it's kind of like kind of balancing position is how it feels. And I'm not sure if there's a question here. I'm just sort of sharing it because it's where I'm at. And I noticed there was a lot of discussion on feeling your feelings, which I feel a bit safer with this no thing space that I am, and I've noticed I'm not identifying with thought as much. I'm just observing it. But I think I'm in a space now which I wasn't before, where I can sit with my feelings and like everything is it, you know. There's not a division between that and the space. So that it's like everything that comes up is it too, you know. But then I suppose there's a bit of me that if it's like I feel like I need to do work to get to my feelings sometimes. Otherwise, I'd just ignore them and go into an old pattern of disassociation, or what's the other word, bypassing. You know, like the other day, a little feeling popped up, a little twinge, and then I had to go back to it later to have a look what it was about. So don't know if any of that makes sense. I'm in this kind of position of how much this, how much that.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense. What I want to change for you is this idea that what you are, this space, that what you are, what that is what you are experiencing. We don't know what you are. We can't know what you are. That's way too complex beyond
It's not an experience, Vince. What I am is not an experience.
No, but you don't know what you are. This is it. The whole point of what you are is a mystery. What you are experiencing is this.
Yeah, but
space.
that's what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying, Vince. It's irrelevant what I am, because it can't be known.
Yes.
It's irrelevant.
So,
all I know is that there's a recognition of it.
Yes.
There's a recognition and recognition and recognition.
Yes, good. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing that what that I don't know what to call it. What that state, it's not a state, but let's just call it that for convenience sake. What that state allows you to do is to see what's going on in terms of your feelings from a much safer place.
Yeah,
because you haven't got the same kind of suck in
week.
that you would have otherwise.
Yeah. So that's what's been this week. That space has been bigger, more obvious.
Yes.
So that things that I'd normally be reacting to coming up, or that this anxiety that I normally have is just, it's not watched, but let's, for words sake, just say watched from that space of what I am. However, it feels like there's a danger of contracting too much into the shadow work and getting lost in that.
No, that won't
And
happen.
I know you can't get lost, but it's like I almost feel like I need to just, there's a part of me needs just to stay out of it. And there's a part of me that needs to get into it.
Yeah.
Can I
yeah.
say something?
Yeah, go on, David.
Because it's very interesting what you share. First, I would say, forget everything about balance, about equilibrium, about all of these things, right? This is just nonsense to me. The whole process can say to have 3 steps. First, you feel that you are a person. And then you realize somehow, I'm not a person, I'm something else. So you spend a whole time to kind of seek this space that you're talking about. And when you are there, they're like, yeah, but now when you are there, there is this, yeah, but there is this experience that is here, right? So there is this kind of attraction toward it, you know, toward, but this is not shadow work. At some point you have to, from that place, you have to be sensitive enough to understand what experience is. And this is not shadow work. When the anxiety come up, that's good, you can feel it. We talk about seeing thought, we talk about staying with sensation. Great, that's good. But maybe where you are, it's you have to be sensitive to what experience is. And that's another dimension. Because when you start to ask those questions, you start to bring your experience into this space, until at some point you see that there is no difference between being in an expansive state or being contracted. Contraction are both expression of the same thing.
Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty big, isn't it?
That's why part of you want to go into contraction. But when you go into contraction, it's not about doing shadow work to decontract, to feel expansion. At some point, shadow work is useless. At some point, is to see the contraction is an expression of the divine, or whatever. Of it, it's yeah.
So
And
what I'm hearing you saying, if I put it into my words, and forgive me, I probably won't use the right words because these are hard to talk about, but what I'm tempted to want to do, and what I hear in Sailor Bob's meetings and with Kat, who's amazing, that it's just by you don't stay there, but just by staying in that space, everything will naturally dissolve. Like a bit like what you're saying, David, you don't have to do shadow work. It's just.
I'm not talking about dissolution, the dissolution. See it like, first you are like ice. Yeah, you are very contracted, very hard, and it's horrible to feel contracted and hard and cold. And at some point something happened and you feel like water, or everything is flowing and I go everywhere and nothing can stop me, right? But the nature of water is to shift and change. So at some point the water will tend to go to ice again. And the true revelation is to feel and see that ice is water. The contraction state doesn't have to dissolve for you to be who you are. And if you go even deeper, feeling as a human being can be said to be the highest state. Because
this is what Angelo talks about the same what you are saying, that a nature of presence is this expansion and also this contraction, both.
Yeah, that's why it is all. I feel that many people are lost into this who I am or who I'm not, and they forget
Yeah,
what you
I
said,
think I
what things
understand
are.
the intellectual side of it, and I do understand that the expansion and the contraction, but what I'm trying to feel into now is the embodiment of it, not just, oh yeah, I've heard someone talk about expansion. I can feel it. I can feel the expansion. And the contraction seems to be able to be there at the same time. Is that what you're talking about? The kind of not separate?
Yes, we can say the whole not dual teachings to say there is no duality, there is no separation between this presence and experience as it arises. They are both the same thing that is not
Yeah.
a thing. That's the same. That's why I'm saying to you, maybe it can be helpful to approach your experience, not in terms of dissolution, shadow work, emotions, or situation, but what it is.
What do you mean by what it is?
What is your experience in essence?
Yeah, stop
Yeah.
worrying.
When you
This
say
this expansion of this space and this like emotion sensation in the body, they are the same things. There is no difference between them. It's one experience. It's the same thing. There's nothing is apart from it. There is no like you're in here and there's something here. It's one thing.
and the way to dissolve it is to really start to see that when you say a sensation, what do you mean, really? What is a sensation? The word sensation point toward an experience. That's okay, and I'm not negating the experience, but a sensation doesn't mean anything. What? Tell me, Anne, what is a sensation? What is it? But it's there.
I don't know.
This is the mystery. It is there, but there is nothing to say. And it's really just drop below all of the stories to stay with what is here.
Yeah,
That's
I
why,
think that's
yeah.
been happening
That
this
that
week.
sense
Staying with it and just staying with it, and I can't help saying they're both there at the same time because it feels quite new. It feels like there's either contraction and struggling and it's not very nice, or there's the no thing space and never the two shall meet. Whereas now it seems they're both there at the same time. And that feels very safe, very whole, just letting it flow like that.
Stay with that. That's beautiful.
With that.
Mm.
At some point, speaking is too much already.
And you can do the same with sounds, Anne. Sounds, you just sit with them bodily sensations, whatever they are, and notice sounds and notice there is no separation between space, sounds, and bodily sensations. Yeah, it's just like one experience and there's nothing is standing apart from it.
I think the sound thing happened. That was the first one to go in terms of just
And
sound.
you can blend
But I think that
with
what I'm
sounds.
talking about here is a different thing. It's a different, yeah, But that's great. Thank you for that. Yeah.
So from here on in, Anne,
Yeah,
no
yeah.
such thing as shadow work. There's no
Right.
such thing as anything that we can put a label on. There's just what turns up.
Yes, that's what it's feeling like. Yeah. Yeah. But I suppose what I'm saying, there's the stickiness of the mind coming in, or it might be there in the background, maybe an old habit of panic of like, oh no, you do need to sort this trauma out and listen to this, that, and that.
Yeah, so you don't need to sort it out. What you do need
Yeah.
to do is experience it. You do need to
Yeah.
allow it. That's what you need to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
if you can allow it without saying it's bad or whatever it is, if you can allow it without getting into ideas about shadow work, about where it comes from or anything like that, then you don't divorce yourself from it. You experience it, and that's what allows it to change.
Mm.
The moment
I
you
know.
start thinking about where did it come from, or what any details about it, you're just escaping from it again.
Mm.
Or
Yeah.
you can,
And what
when
David said about what is that sensation, because again, that sensation is the space no thing as well.
Yes,
And
sure,
I think that's
absolutely. Yep.
pointed to,
Yeah, but when you say
yeah,
what is it,
everything is that no space thing.
yeah,
That's where that's taken me, David.
yeah,
Thank you for that.
yeah, right, yeah,
you can, when you are in that spaciousness, whatever that is called, it's called nothing, but anyway, if you are, seeing that contraction, you can kind of expand more space for that contraction into that spaciousness. Give that contraction more space to be here. Just allow it more space.
yes, it's a safe place to do it too. Yeah. Mm.
It's interesting when we go into like bodily sensation, all them five senses, bodily sensations, sounds, taste, smell, visual. There is no substance in anything, nothing, like no substance, nothing. It's just, you can't put anything here from here, nothing.
You can't bottle it. No surgeon will find it. Yeah.
It's like, you can't say anything about it.
Mm, exactly. Yeah.
Speechless.
Well, welcome, Stanislav. No, can't hear you. Well, you're muted now, but you weren't a second ago. Talk? No.
I guess it's your microphone from Zoom that it has chosen another microphone, maybe.
Okay, hello.
Yes, we got you now. Yeah, good.
No, I cannot hear you. Just a second.
Oh, you can't hear us.
Or
This is family dynamic right there.
Yes, yeah. So if you can't hear us, we can't give you help either.
hello, hello. I cannot. No, I cannot hear you. That's so weird.
I can hear you.
Oh, Okay, come again. Can you hear me?
Yes, can
Yeah.
hear you.
Yeah.
And you can
no,
hear us
Sorted?
now.
I thank you.
Right.
I did nothing new. Okay. Hello, everyone. I finally
Well,
found
welcome.
something.
Good to see a new face. Tell us where you're up to on this journey.
Well, I don't know. Nowhere in particular. Pre-awakening, before awakening. So I'm looking for my first shift. Cutting it down. I don't know. What should I tell you? What should I share? I also just wanted to get acquainted. I have no idea who you people are.
Have we been making sense to you what we've been talking about?
I was not listening too well because I didn't catch the beginning. I don't know what's the situation for Anne is before waking, after waking. So I just listened to my wife's audio. Well, yeah.
Mm. So
Um,
have you been a seeker for a while?
3 years, maybe a little bit more. Yeah,
Yep.
sure.
And what have you been in contact with? Who have you been listening to or watching or reading?
Okay, so like 10 years or more ago, I read Eckhart Tolle. It gave me nothing. 3 years ago, I read Judd McKenna, if you know about him. It poisoned me. And a couple years ago, I found Angelo Di Luo's book.
Mhm.
And from then on, I'm consuming that stuff. Also a bit of fetters, and well, here and there, whatever.
Yeah, good stuff.
I'm doing TRE as well.
The last one again?
I'm doing TRE, trauma release exercises,
Okay, yes.
and talking to one of the awakened people one-on-one, Chris Gimon. She was interviewed by Angelo,
Right, good stuff. Yeah.
and psychedelics occasionally.
Yep. Well, that gets to show you something too, doesn't it? Yeah.
Oh, she showed me some trauma. That's what it showed me mostly.
Okay. So with Angelo's stuff, and that's the one that I would give most credibility to. I don't know about the TRE, but with Angelo, so have you been actually working on any of the fetters?
Because I still didn't break the first 3 fetters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have much interest in the later fetters. And I'm trying to do inquiries. Recently, like a good month ago, I had my first successful inquiries. Something opened up. I had a couple of days of, yes, you would call it more open consciousness. It was pretty awesome, pretty fantastic. I loved it, but it was my first one. I couldn't really do anything. I'm not even sure I understood much during those experiences. So now I'm.
Well, you won't understand it. You never understand it because it's not a mental thing, is it? When it happens like that. Yeah.
You know what? You would think that that's what I should have understood, but I kind of still didn't get that. It's kind of weird, honestly, how it went. So now I'm getting my forces to try inquiry again. It's just I'm very unconcentrated. My life is pretty chaotic, and I always seem like I can't do whatever practice. I can't do it for more like a minute. So it's like nothing works. When it worked, everything worked for those like couple hours when I was walking around with my baby. But in the usual days when I'm at home in front of my computer or talking to my wife, it's like I'm I don't
Yeah.
see. I don't know how to approach these circumstances.
Oh well, you're in the right place to find out about that stuff, I think. Yeah.
Sure.
Expectations are an interesting one, and one of the really common expectations that people have who haven't yet woken up is that they're always going to be in some kind of state. But let me tell you, when you're talking to your wife or your parents, especially your family, you won't be in that state in the beginning. It'll take that's a pretty advanced place you can be in, where you can still be in that spacious space when you're interacting with your family. But at the same time, elements of that can seep through. So you can have some awareness of what's going on at the same time. But it's unreasonable to expect that you're just going to be in a state of bliss all the time. That's not going to happen. Maybe it does for some, but I don't know anybody that it does like that for. Yeah.
I had to say, I kind of understand. Sure. I probably need some practice. Like a long time, right?
Yep.
It's just that there are people who don't really need that, and people who get their shift during a conversation. I don't really understand how that's really possible, because I feel like I need some alone time and concentration for that, and not to be in bad of a mood.
Many people seek awakening because they are suffering or they want to get away of something. So what do you want to get away from? I don't understand.
I don't know. I mean, it started just as randomly reading a book and becoming very interested in this, I suppose. But it's like it's intermeshed with trying to get some well-being, right? I'm not sure. I'm not really sure again. Like, these two things are enmeshed. I want well-being, and but I am also interested in this stuff. I would think that I'm interested in this. I don't. How can I know? How can I really say, right? I don't think I can. Not in earnest. Well, when I had success with inquiry, I allowed it. I don't know if that's enough.
So tell me what you call inquiry. What did you do that gave you that breakthrough before?
Yeah, sure. I guess that's what I have so many confusions about so many like theoretical and practical things. So I did self-inquiry. I just tried to find the me, the minus, or whatever it is in my thoughts. I was just looking at thoughts like, and just try to feel the me. And for some reason it worked. And then I was playing around with all these questions, inquiries I had that I had loaded in myself before, and they were all kind of working. But right now, I'm confused about the same inquiry. Because there's like a dichotomy or division for all these inquiries. Am I supposed to find? It's like self-inquiry. Is it about looking and finding the ego, or looking and finding the not consciousness. It's like it got really confusing, and still confusing.
Yep, yep.
Am I supposed to find what does not exist and it doesn't exist, and then burst into waking? Or am I supposed to go to the other approach, like being seeing the gap? I'm sorry, I have to with that for a minute. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that what am I supposed to do thing is interesting, isn't it? How can I achieve something without doing something?
So I think it's all searching for a self or searching for a consciousness. I mean, it can be very confusing.
Oh,
And that's why maybe if you, yeah, we listen to you.
I'm back.
Back with us? Yes, good. Yeah.
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 Sorry about that.
Yeah. So the first thing that comes to mind for me is, what am I supposed to do? Is you heading down the wrong path. You're not ever going to find what you're looking for by looking in that direction. So what you're looking to see is what already exists. We're not looking for anything new. You know? So the whole idea about looking for a no self is just crazy as far as I'm concerned. What we want to look for is what does exist, and we want to be able to see that clearly. So if I was to put into a 2-line summary or whatever about what this waking up business is about, the first thing I would say is what it's about is recognizing the difference between what is actual and what is conceptual. So because all of our societies are language based in a big way, language insists that we look at things in a certain way. It always has a subject and an object, and for example, and there are nouns and abstract nouns and concrete nouns and all of that all shape the way we think. So what's happened around in our society is that a lot of the things that we take to be real are just stories. They're just ideas. And when we wake up, it's a case of recognizing that. What is it that's an idea and what is it that's actual? And here's a clue for you. Well, here's a clue. Here's a direct thing. The only thing that is actual is your current experiencing. Absolutely everything else, from the perspective of you, from your perspective, everything else is conceptual. So the only thing that's actual is what you are currently experiencing. And by the time you realize what you're experiencing, it's already done. It's already finished. It's in the past. Right? Because it takes a 5 milliseconds or something for your awareness to latch on to what it is you're experiencing. And that's why it's in the past. So any idea of wanting it to be different is just going to corrupt your next experience. So there's a couple of big ones in there. So the value of acceptance for whatever turns up, without judgment, without opinion, without any label, is huge. That's a really, really big one. Now, again, you can't do those things, but by us talking about them does introduce them as a possibility to happen. if you're going to make them into a job to do, then you're just diverting away from where we need to go. So that's a kind of a bit of a summary. So I wouldn't myself say go looking for the no self. That's crazy. That's a diversion. What you can see when you look at your life is that you've got a whole lot of stories about Stanislav. Stories upon stories upon stories about what he likes and what he looks like and what he owns and everything you can think of about him. You've got a whole book of stories, right? And that story doesn't make up the self, but the way you respond to the elements in that story, that's what we would call the self. And so self again is experiencing, but in this case, you're experiencing a fantasy, a story about who Stanislav is and what he's like and what he likes and all that stuff. So what we're looking to achieve, and that's almost none of the words I say are right, but anyway, that's the best way I can put it. What we're looking for does not exist at the level of words or at the level of concept. It exists beneath words or below words or behind words. It's your raw experiencing of what's going on in the world, your response to what circumstances, what life offers you.
Sure, but it's like I need to put some. It's like, okay, I'm supposed to put my attention away from thoughts, right? But is it like a felt thing,
Yes.
or is it like not even like maybe there's this confusion because, by the way, are the sounds annoying? Do you hear them outside sounds?
No, they're fine.
Okay. Oh, okay. Because okay. So like where do I put my attention? Is it a felt thing or is it even beyond feelings? And is this felt thing same as seeing a sense? I have senses, I have thoughts, and is this feeling one of them?
Yeah. It gets tricky again. I would say it is a kind of feeling, but we're not just talking about emotions. We're talking about something much more like intuition, a different.
So it's not an emotion, not in the body necessarily.
Yeah.
It's like feeling into the moment, kind of feeling.
Yes. That sounds
like,
good. Yeah.
So it's not one of my senses, right?
No,
And it's not a thought, and it's not an emotion.
That's right. But
Okay, well,
David's laughing.
That's one helpful thing for sure.
Yeah. Jump in, David. Help me here.
I will take a completely different road.
Yep. Go.
Completely. To me, you have to realize, understand, and see the nature of thought. And it's not mystical, it's very simple. You have to be very clear about how thoughts, how the pattern of thoughts appear. So are you clear with the difference between an imagination, a belief, and a concept? Because if this is not clear to you, you will just dive into confusion forever.
It's clear on some level, but I'm pretty sure there are like many levels of this. And generally speaking, I have trouble with not identifying.
No, but
being
don't worry
in
about
thought.
identify. Just what is the difference between them? What is the difference between an imagination, a belief, and a concept?
Imagine, come again?
What is the difference between imagination, beliefs, and concept?
I just thought they are different kinds of thoughts.
That's true, but because you are very attached to them, the way that I propose to you, you disengage with thoughts when you understand how they behave naturally.
So, can you name the three types again? I'll write them down.
Imagination,
Beliefs and
beliefs, and concept.
concepts.
I understand that many people say disengage with thought, let thought on the side and everything. But right now, the question you are asking, you are trying to build a new imagination to find it in your experience. So you are still in thought.
Hmm.
That's why I propose something different.
And how should I approach this?
So do you
Just
do
make
you
a
know the
study.
no, just right now, do you know the difference between them in your own can you make the difference in your own experience between those three?
Oh, maybe concepts is a little bit not very ambiguous, but sure.
So give me
Generally
an
speaking.
example for each one.
Okay. Mm. Are they like really separate somehow? I mean, I want to say like belief. The wall is white, but it's kind of an imagination thing, a concept thing as well. Maybe I'm in trouble.
I mean, what I'm proposing is not everyone like it. So I'm not saying that this is the way, you know. I'm just saying, if you are really catch up into thought, one way out is to understand how they appear and to have some diagram. And if you can see it clearly, at some point you will see the absurdity of thought, and naturally you will move away from them because you will get interested into something else. So for example, imagination is Santa Claus, right? Dragons, you know, vampires. All of this is imagination. You cannot find those things in your direct experience. Yes.
Yeah, sure.
After you have belief, I mean, it's not just belief. It's, for example, you can have money. Money is a belief. You don't find it you cannot find it. What you find is paper and color, but money is an idea. Yes, and the value, the value that you put on it, it's a belief. Yeah, there are school diplomas, doctors. You know, all of this is, you know, this belief. Family belief is it's social, it's construction.
Okay.
And concept, you can say that concept is kind of the root of thinking. Concept is like the building block of thinking.
Such as
Right now, if you see a wall, you actual experience is light, right? You actual experience is color in your visual field. The mind will
concept
take
like
this
time and space.
Like what?
Concepts like time and space.
Yeah, for example, yeah, okay, but just to make it simple, when you see a wall or a chair or whatever it's on your visual field, yes, they are just shape and colors. They are an experience, but the mind will build, will add to it concept. It is that chair, it is that table, this is a wall, yes.
Yes.
So the mind overlay concept upon your actual experience with concept.
When I had success with my inquiries, I think I could find a tiny gap between hearing birds sing and a thought that describes it. So it's like, I'm not really
Great.
hearing birds sing. I hear something else. However, I'm trying not to go into this territory because I'm not sure. It's like a deeper feathers material.
What
I'm
is deeper feather material?
like seeing. Is this?
Do go into that.
Do
That's good stuff.
I need to go in that deep if it's even deep at all for initial shift or not?
Well, I know the feather, but I'm not a fan of it. But I know it works. But I'm not a fan for exactly what's happening right now. Like right now, you had a shift doing one exploration, and we are doing an exploration. And the thought about the feather, the step where you are on this feather and what you have to do is impeding you to actually explore something in the moment. So the tool that is helping you is not helping you at all at this moment, maybe later, but right now, not the point.
Do understand that the feathers are a conceptual model to help you focus on where to look. That's all.
Sure.
What we're doing now could be. Yeah, go on.
I don't really even deal with that. I don't even.
Yeah,
I don't even think about feathers. I'm just.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
just-
Better not
But
to at this stage.
but that's great. If your shift was, you could hear a sound, and you could saw how thinking and put concept upon it. It's amazing. So keep doing it. Keep doing with sound, and you can do it with the visual field. And that's why
I would love to. I just have trouble with it. With any practice, and I can't do this right now. For example, while I'm.
Did you notice that when you had that crack that you looked through where you recognized that you were hearing a sound, that the mind turned up very quickly and labeled it a bird singing, a bird sound, right? So guess what happens? And you may not have recognized it, but the moment that the mind turns up to say, oh, that's a bird singing, you stop hearing the sound. You actually, it seems like you're still hearing it, but you're actually relating to your idea of the sound at that point.
Well, yeah, sure. It's like, generally speaking, thinking is like a filter or like a mist, like a dirt or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of finally get the taste of difference.
Yes. So if you can just stay with that one for the moment, that's an experience that you've had. And so you can use your memory to bring that experience back into the present a little bit, right? And recognize that that's a perfect example of what we're talking about with the difference between what your mind takes to be reality and what is actually real. Right? The sound that you experienced that you could not put words to was what you actually experienced. The idea that it was a bird sound was what got overlaid on that, right? That's a post-it note on reality. That's what a term I like. Right?
Mhm.
You've added something to the reality of your experience when you think about it.
Mhm.
Now, don't get me wrong, this does not make thought the enemy. We don't escape thought. It's there. That's part of it. That's one of our senses, if you like. Right. So just the same as you're going to feel things or hear things or see things, you will also think things. But it's a case of putting it into perspective. So at the moment, you just need to look for examples where thought covers up what is actually going on for you. And that will happen all day, every day. You'll have 1,000 examples of that happening.
Yeah, except distractions distract me very easily.
Yep.
Actually, could you help me a bit more with this confusion I have about self-inquiry? And so you said that looking for no self is nonsense, and I would, generally speaking, I would agree. I would, because my logic is the following: not finding something does not mean it doesn't exist.
Exactly. Yes.
It-
That means you
but
didn't find it yet.
yes,
Yeah.
but there are different good people who are still like offering this self-inquiry, and it even like worked. Yes, for me. For example, the inquiry that I would think that I like was the following: where is me in the present moment, in the present experience? And then I get stuck thinking about, like, oh well, I'm my body. I can control my body. I can find what I am, and I get stuck. Am I supposed to like be analytical about it and look from every and each angle, or would you just offer me to just give up on this and go other route?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm inclined to say yes, give up on it. Look, analysis is a great way to escape what's going on.
Come again? What's it?
Analysis, the moment you start
yeah.
analyzing things, right? What you do, what are you? You're in the head again, aren't you? You're just thinking about
Sure.
it. Yeah. And
But I have,
you're not going to see the irrelevance of mind by using the mind. It will be your experience that shows you that.
I guess I'm just entertaining myself. I really want to understand why are people offering me this inquiry. But maybe I'll just give up on this and go the other way.
Oh, you can't give.
no, I have a different opinion, because my mind, I was very, very attached to my thoughts, very attached. And for me, nothing could happen until my thoughts kind of somehow agreed until some point. You know, it has to make some sense to my thought to allow other things to happen. Otherwise, because I was so attached to it, so attached. So I took I would say not analyzing, but I would say the higher reasoning. Like you push the reason to the extreme. It's not the extreme, but to the true logic. And when you do this, at some point, you will hit you will hit the limit of what the mind can know. And at some point, there can be a shift.
I guess you're like you're voicing what a voice that I have. That's why it's like torturing me a little bit. But for example, I was trying to do what Angel recommends about thoughts, like looking at the whole stream of thoughts or looking at a one thought and seeing the thought stuff. Nothing works. Maybe under psychedelics it works a little bit. Actually, that successful inquiry session I had was a couple of days after a trip, so maybe that helped me.
I don't know nothing about aphrodisiac, but what I can tell you, it's like many teachers who recommend to not do analysis, to not do this, have themselves read so much and have studied so much for years. And after this, they say, yeah, just drop it. But they didn't, because they needed it. So I don't know. My opinion is like there is many roads, and the higher reasoning, it's a valid road. There is others like devotion, tantric path, which is pure somatic exploration. So there is many paths, and each path is valid, but each path is very specific for each person.
I just want to mention about, you said like when you're doing self-inquiry, like, you know, you have like a reason in like your body, you're in the body. I wouldn't, you know, like just even after a shift, I still felt like I am a body and I am in the body until like a lot of emotional stuff got released. That's when you start, you know, like kind of to see like body just function in itself. So not try to confuse yourself.
It's just funny. I asked the same inquiry, like, where is me in the present experience, to my wife, and she immediately answered me like, I'm in this neutral space. It's just funny. She didn't even bother answering the questions, so to speak. I don't get it. It's just funny.
It's kind of frustrating that she gets it so easily and you work so hard and don't get it.
Yeah, God damn.
I know, like for me, really, that what worked and that what led me to first that, you know, for a shift. How do you know you are without any thought, without any memory? Don't touch any thought, don't touch any memory. How do you know you are? And you just get into that space and just stay in that space. Yeah. Or, you know, like where I am or what I am, and you just go back into that space and you just don't touch any thought and just stay in that thoughtless space and just do that all the time, every day, as much as you can, until something does shift. But when that, you know, like you actually realize this is that thoughtless space, that's all there is. When shift happens, you just like, okay, that's all. It's not like big wow.
Yeah, sure. Honestly, all the things that I studied, practice, trying to practice, they all seem to be going into one single practice. So maybe I'm doing all right.
Yeah, it's interesting. What David was saying about, you know, people who say, don't well, whatever they say, and yet they've done all of that stuff themselves in the past. I mean, I was a seeker for 40 years, and I read and listened to everything and everybody that I could come across for all of those times. And I have to say that it seems like everything that I experienced was all necessary.
Mm-hmm.
For me to get.
You sure about that? Because for I seem like I'm wallowing crap and reading useless stuff.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, I need more practice and less.
No, look, if I could,
it's like a hobby.
Yeah, if I could give you a gift, I would say, kick back and relax, and just take in one thing at a time, and just let it soak in. Right, but you can't hurry this stuff. You can. It's not a, you know, the more effort you put into it, the slower you're going to go. In fact, you're probably not going to go anywhere if you put too much effort into it. Right, it happens when you relax. Right? These conversations that we have here, they kind of plant seeds. That's all they do, and that seed will germinate when you least expect it. Right, when you mowing the lawn or washing the car or doing the dishes, that's when it'll happen, not when you're sitting here trying to find something.
Okay. I guess practices are
Yeah.
paradoxical, right?
Yes, yeah. So being relaxed, and just what we're looking for is a chink, just a place where we can get the thin edge of the wedge in, that basically shows you something, and then that tumbles onto other things like dominoes falling over, you know, that they just, one knocks the next one over, knocks the next one over kind of thing. Right. The fact that you've had that shift already is huge. That's a really big thing, because your being changes as a result of that. But what we're really doing here, if we look at it from a biochemical point of view, is we're actually changing the way the brain works. Right. So all of your thinking is all left brain stuff. And the right brain stuff is entirely different. The right brain stuff is where love exists, where you don't have criticism of things, where you don't judge things. Right? The right brain is at an entirely different place. And what we're doing with this stuff is we actually shifting over to more right brain activity than left brain activity. Right? But the left brain activity is habitual. It's been there all your life, and it's strong. And everything in society, including the language that I talked about earlier, and everybody you come across, is all going to encourage you to be left brain. So it's a little bit of a trick to kind of get away from that. But we don't get away from it. We just allow it to fall. We just allow it to drop into a proper perspective. That's really what happens. So, you know, and you can say, oh, well, I should give up on this stuff, but you can't give up on this stuff. Once you've started it, you've got to keep going, I think.
Yeah, can't imagine letting go.
Yeah.
Just one thing I realised, you keep mentioning inquiry, which has not really worked for me, because if the seeking mind always wants something, it's always seeking for an answer, for a conclusion. Who am I? It wants a conclusion. If you take any reply from the mind, or you listen to any thought that it's given you, who am I? Well, I'm the body, you said. Well, I'm this, I'm that. But they're just thoughts. They're not who you are. They're what thought is saying you are. But you are not thought. Thoughts are just happening. So for me, when I first got who am I, straight away, it was like a losing game. Because if I play with the mind on that, I can be there for years and years and years.
Yeah.
But if I just look at who am I without thought, who am I without thought? And then that opens up that space that we're constantly overlooking, because we're always going back into the mind to find the answers, the solution, the conclusion. Oh, I've got it. I'm here now. I've had that shift. I've awakened. But it's more relaxing back in, as Vince was saying, relaxing back into that space of not accepting what we've conditionally accepted, which is the thought analysis of who I am and what's going on. It's all made of thought. It's all a structure of thought. That you'll get confused and entangled in.
And thought's very, very seductive. It's
Yeah.
Thought will promise you satisfaction if you follow it down a rabbit hole, but it never actually delivers on that satisfaction. Yeah. So something else comes to mind that I think is valuable for you too, and that is that with this inquiry, with this stuff that we're doing, right, we need to distinguish between the absolute and the relative. The relative being your experience, which is the only reality really for you is your experience. Now, that's not to say that the ocean doesn't exist, right? What it is to say is that I can only think about it at the moment, therefore it's just a concept. It's just a fantasy that I have about the ocean. And when I do experience it, do I experience an ocean? If I'm standing there and I've got water lapping around my feet, I'm experienced standing there and water wrapping around my feet. The whole idea of it being an ocean is just another fantasy again. And so really what we come down to is what the absolute is unknowable. We cannot know what you actually are or what anything actually is. It's beyond our mind to understand that. But we have concepts to take care of that. And when we communicate with concepts, that's convenient. And we do that. But we recognize that that's what it is. So the only real reality for you is the relative. Everything that we think about now while you're on this inquiry is from the perspective of Stanislav. It's not about what's actually out there. It's not about what you actually are. It's about what your experience is.
Yeah, intellectual.
Say that again.
I get this, but intellectually. We'll
Yes.
see.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So for it to move from the intellectual down into an experiential understanding or recognition of it, that will happen by itself. Right? The seed's been planted. And so you will play with your mind now until you recognize that your mind is getting in the road, and then you'll play with your sensations. And when you get down to the reality of your sensations, you're experiencing, you start to recognize that your senses actually aren't separate. They're not unique. They run together. So stuff that you hear will also create feeling, etc. So sensations are not individual separate things at that level. When you label them, they are. You have to get back up to a simplistic level to use labels to describe what you're experiencing to somebody. So then it becomes just touch. But when you experience a touch, you can recognize very quickly that to describe to somebody else where that touch is exactly and what it feels like is an impossibility. You could not describe even close to what the actual experience is to somebody else. It's just too complex.
Sure. The approximation doesn't. So that's how we're all. I'm done for tonight.
Yep. Okay. No worries.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
plenty.
loading you up with a lot of stuff there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm planning some solo time maybe. We'll
Yeah.
see. Find myself some time for myself. Yeah.
Well, I hope to see you again.
Yeah.
We'll
I
keep
actually.
working there.
Yeah. I hope I'll be finding time for this. Thank you.
Okay.
Nice seeing you, people.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Good stuff.
I'll go actually. Thank you. See you.
How have you been, Kelly?
I don't want to put a label on it, but I feel peaceful. I feel like I'm becoming more accepting of like the immediate. So I'm not like so yesterday my mind will tell me it was a bad day. I felt overwhelmed and off, but I had enough space to see that it was just a day and I don't have to label that day as bad or good. It was just a day and I did what you said to do and I relaxed and just sensations in my legs come up. And there is a little voice in my head that says, oh God, you're such a good girl now. But yeah, but it's nice. It's like all day, I call it the doer. So I got up yesterday morning and it was starting and it was like, oh God, you don't feel right. You've got to do this. You've got to do this. You've got to do this. And I was all over and then I just stopped and I just relaxed. And I feel like it's just happened. And that's good. That's good. Instead of me trying to fight it, which I always do. So yeah, that feels really good to be able to like kind of do that. You know, whether it'll happen again, I don't know. But I do feel like I'm getting more space from the mind and seeing them thoughts more. In fact, yesterday when I was relaxing, you know, some utter nonsense it was saying, I found quite amusing. You know, it was calling me lazy and thing. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
It's a place of discovery. So yeah.
Yeah, it's weird because like I feel like it's all starting to like jar together a bit. I think IFS has helped me massively. I think I've spent so long trying to get rid of myself. Like, because I thought that's what you had to do, you know, I was suffering, you know, just totally not accepting. But IFS, it's give me distance from me, you know, and be more like accepting, like, you know, I've got little names for parts of me, you know, do was quite a strong one, and then I've got mother and child, and it's just nice to have that space back and see, you know, mechanism a little bit more. And it takes so much, a lot drops with that, like judgment and fear. And my thoughts don't seem as sticky, you know. I don't like seem to get stuck to them and thingy. It's like, you know, it's just nice to be able to step back, you know. I seem to go in them, but it's pretty quick. It's pretty quick, and then I kind of now like, because I kind of want to like stay in my bedroom forever. That's like, you know, I don't want to go out because then it changes. When I'm around people, I kind of like love this sanctuary, but I know I've got to like, you know, leave the house some point.
Will happen.
I can understand why people go to caves and just live in caves, because I bet that's really peaceful. But yeah, it's good, and I'm seeing more, like especially with my children. My head was quite obviously chaotic yesterday morning, so then all my children were all arguing and being chaotic, and it's like, oh yeah, you know, definitely me. So yeah, feels like quite a nice place to be today, but I'm trying not to get too sucked into that, judging it as, you know, the black and the white.
Yeah, that sounds like a good place, and it's not. It's going to change. It's going to keep changing. So
Yeah.
and And at some point you'll go, well, let's go outside and see what happens.
Yeah. It was more the labels that I'd put on, like good and bad, or like black and white. I'd have the piece and it'd be, I suppose in a sense there was a bit of ownership in it. There was a bit of me still in it. And then it's like the what I classed as negative emotions come up, then it's like ownership of them, and then I've done something wrong, I've lost my peace. Whereas today I don't feel like that. It's just for today.
There will all these good experiences change you. Make it so that when next time something comes along, you see it from a slightly different angle. Just evolves. Yeah. It's sounding good to me.
Yeah. It feels nice. Well, I'm not going to put labels on it. It's okay.
Well, it's hard not to put labels on it, especially when we go.
It is if I'm on, I'm not going to lie. There's still a part of me that does prefer when I feel peaceful to when I don't. But I feel like a lot of the fear and negativity is going, and there is more. Right, it's just here now. Let's just accept it.
It's loosened its grip a little bit.
Yeah, and do you know what? Like yesterday, it was actually lovely. It was like a permission slip. Oh, you don't feel too good today, and I just had such a relaxing day, and I can see my body probably needed that. I was feeling overwhelmed, and and it went really quickly. Whereas I can see when I fight things like that, I could be lost for about 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
So simple when you do it.
Yeah, it's a trap, isn't it?
But then, yeah.
And every part of us wants to fight it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Good stuff. I like what I hear. How about you, Ramis?
I feel like you are tired and you need to sleep.
Yes. Sleep is amazing. An amazing healer, an amazing rejuvenation. And things still good with you, Lennart?
Well, I'm having problems with sleeping. And yeah, I don't really want to go into detail with the story I told you on Wednesday, but yeah, recently I have a lot of moments when it's very clear to me that this Leonard is just a character, So, but the weird thing is that, then I'm getting to know someone, I feel attracted, maybe a bit of this romantic projection. And then the weird thing is that at the same time, there is seeing of that. And then sometimes it's very confusing because it's so clear that it's just like a role in a theater play. And then what happened was that I had a phone call and I was very open. I said, I talked about what we had talked about on Wednesday, my irritation about this whole issue about being a gay man and blah, blah, blah. And then I said like, yeah, maybe my reaction was a bit extreme because if I'm honest, I also think that maybe you need to experience like getting to know a lot of guys and maybe having sexual experiences and so on. And then the answer was, yes, it's really like that. And then in this situation, the Leonard, like this character, did or said things that it was strange because there was seeing of it at the same time, and I could see it's still like a story or a role or something like that, but it was also within this character very good because he was protecting himself and not lying to himself. And then I could more or less listen to this character saying, yeah, but then it's not something I'd really want to take part in, you know? I mean, I said like, yeah, when I open up to someone and I have like this intimacy, then of course I could pretend to be very cool and polyamorous or something like that, but it's just not work. It won't work. And it doesn't really make any sense to lie to myself now or to you. So I will just tell you that it's not, not what I want. And it felt kind of good, but at the same time, within this seeing perspective, it was like, yeah, but what is this actually all about? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it was like, okay, it's just like conditioning, you know, like how do you have to behave when you are in a relationship, and what does it mean to have an intimacy and romantic blah 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 blah. And it was like super clear to me that it's just like I'm playing a role, and this has to do with certain conditions of my character. Maybe another person, a different person would have said, okay, cool, then we are super free together or something like that. And it's just like very arbitrary, but it makes sense within the character Leonard, and in that way it felt like kind of right. Because in the past I would not have done this. I would have tried to please to this person in order not to, or maybe I would have the desire to be with this person, even if maybe it's not the right person, would have been so strong that there would have been like this, no, I have to keep this thing going on somehow, and then there would be suffering. And like this, it was just like very easy. It was like, okay, no, then I'm out. But and then I also said like, yeah, sorry, I mean, I don't want to quit being in contact with you. I mean, I still like you, and I enjoy having this exchange with you, and I do care for you. But at the moment, I just have to sort out for myself like how it feels and what I think. And but yeah, it felt like being down in the rabbit hole, but at the same time there was seeing, you know.
Aware of it.
So,
it can be a very bittersweet experience.
and it was like really that I noticed as well that, I mean, for example, if maybe this is just like a voice within this Leonard that is saying like, anyway, it's not the right guy or something like that, because it was not everything like, wow, wonderful. There were like some things that I found, I mean, I told you, like this subject that I found like not really interesting to talk about, for example. But I mean, still, I can be empathetic. I can see that the other person is in a different place and needs this. And I don't, and anyway, I don't, yeah, there was like this feeling of being rejected, but then there was the direct seeing that is a story. There is no rejection. I mean, it's just like there's one person in this context and the other one in this context, and maybe it's not in harmony or something like this, or it doesn't work together, and then it's a good thing to just clear the situation, and that's it.
Yeah.
But then also, yeah, but I could feel in my body that something was triggered. I mean, it was like this, yeah, the rejected child, you know. And it could have been any other person. And I mean, even maybe if I don't really, I mean, I was not seeing a lot of future in this relationship before. I didn't really project so much on it. I was already a bit like, okay, I don't know if I want to talk about this subject all the time. But then still, it's like, it's just like this, it doesn't have to do anything with the person. It doesn't have to do anything with the situation. It's just like this traumatic, I don't know, predisposition that makes me be in this body that feels like, and today I'm still a bit like in this bodily sensation, I don't know. But yeah, it was kind of, there were some moments when I really got down the rabbit hole, but I would say that the predominant thing was still like that there was actually seeing of it.
Yeah, good
But
stuff.
yeah, and then I tried to avoid judging it or thinking like, yeah, but back then at the beach in Indonesia, it was everything so relaxed and yeah, free, like for several hours, like free of all those stories and concepts and stuff. But then I tried to see it just as the same. I mean, it's not the opposite, or it's not like
That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I really love the idea of you being truer to yourself. You know, being honest with yourself. So that.
And I would say this is also the fruit of this seeing, because but still it felt really weird, like anyway this character will do, I mean, there's no control about what this character
exactly.
does.
Yeah. And it makes it complicated. That it can be a bit bittersweet, you know. So there's gains and there's losses, you know.
Yeah, but actually I felt a lot of relief afterward.
Good. Yeah.
I felt like, well done, although I didn't do anything, you know. But
yeah, excellent.
and afterwards, yeah, I felt like I have to release this energy, and then I rediscovered a playlist and I started to dance for an hour or so in my living room, and it was really helpful.
Yes.
Like because in the past, or like, I have always been like so much in my head that I would not easily accept, yeah, just go jogging or do sports. I would never do that. And then I disciplined for doing yoga or stuff like that. But sometimes I even is also like something that works. Sometimes I sing karaoke at home. And it's like, yeah, it's a bit ironic, it's a bit funny, but then usually I have to laugh about myself a lot. And then it's like also this, I know it's a character and I can overact this character, you know, and that is like quite a funny way of getting aware of the theatrical thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah, it's all a journey of discovery, isn't it?
Hmm.
Mm. Okay, well, I'm feeling a bit like Rum is. I feel like I need to go and sleep.
Yeah, me too.
So, all right. Well, thank
I
you.
was talking about you, Vince.
Oh, you're talking about me, not you. Okay.
Yes.
Uh, yes, yeah, I do feel that way. Yeah.
Vince, I wanted to ask you something because I felt like making a donation, but I don't know. I don't find any information, or I don't know where it is.
Oh, okay.
How
Okay,
can I-
yeah. So do you belong to the Facebook group? What is enlightenment?
No, I don't use Facebook or
Oh,
this.
okay. Okay. All right then. Um, what's your email?
I can send it to you. Just a
Yeah, I don't
second.
have it already.
I don't know. I think you have it, yes.
Yeah.
But in case you don't, I put it here.
Oh, okay, I have it. Lennart Wolf at Proton Mail.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. Yeah,
I'll send you a link, Lennart.
okay, fine.
But don't feel obligated. Just
No, no, no. It's just that at the moment I'm able to. So I would like I mean, of course, it's not measurable in money.
yeah,
I
sure.
know.
Yeah, of course.
It's just like I feel like doing it.
Yeah.
So
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
I'll send you my PayPal link for that. Yeah.
Fine.
Okay. All right. Good night, everybody.